Welcome back to the 504 Core Podcast. We're back with Zack Nagy again, LSU. Big news of the day, Zack. Carson Beck transferring. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know we were talking a little bit about that before, just saying that we'd open with it. It's interesting. I mean, I think it's just a testament to the draft grade that he was receiving, that maybe there wasn't as much NFL buzz as he anticipated. So now he gets the opportunity to go get a significant payday, whether it's Miami, Ohio State, Texas Tech. Seems like those are the three schools that are really pushing for him. Obviously, man, Miami's going to be that one that sticks out like a sore thumb just because he's dating one of the Cavender twins. So we'll see if he lands there, but I mean, he's going to get $3 to $4 million bucks. It's going to be a kind of a whirlwind of a transfer portal process. I mean, the dude's going to get the bag, but yeah, interesting shit.
What do you think? What do you think his grade was? Like, what do you think they told him?
Dude, I'd probably say Carson Beck's like a third rounder, fourth rounder.
Fourth? I don't know. I always say quarterbacks go higher than what they're projected to.
Probably third. I mean, just this class is just not as talented as previous have been. I'll leave it at that. So I'd probably say like third round.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably like a fourth grade talent, but quarterbacks always go higher, much higher than what they're supposed to. So, like, you could say like fourth grade talent, third round pick, second round pick. Teams get desperate for quarterbacks. So, I wonder what his NIL number is going to be. I mean,
I'd probably say 3 or 4 million.
3-4 million. Yeah, that's really interesting. I know, like, when he declared for the draft, like a week or two ago, like McShay and all these other guys were ripping into him. Like, one word was premature. It's like, yeah, I mean, I agree. I've never been a biggest Carson Beck fan, but yeah, you can see Miami, especially if he's got a girlfriend there. So I just figured to start off the pod with that. That'd be interesting. But yeah, LSU full effect with recruiting, CFP, possibly transfers, early enrollees. I'm going to let you take it. Where do you want to start off with?
Yeah, probably start off quick and easy with the early enrollees and whatnot. I mean, for me, it's nice to get 13 of the youngsters to campus a semester early. These are players that are graduating high school early, making their way to campus this weekend. And we're recording this on Thursday, January 9th. A lot of the guys will move in on the 10th, 11th. And then I know Charles Ross will move in on the 12th on Sunday. So you got a lot of guys that'll be here, a lot of immediate impact pieces. And the three that really stick out to me like a sore thumb are DJ Pickett, Harlem Berry, and Carius Curne. Everybody knows DJ Pickett, number one cornerback in the country. Harlem Berry, number one running back in the country. But Carius Curne is one to me that might be kind of getting swept under the rug a little bit. He's a four-star offensive lineman, can play the guard spot. I could really see him coming in and competing during spring camp and quickly emerging as a critical piece of that offensive line. I'm not going to say he's going to be a starter on day one, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was a starter on day one. I mean, this is a guy who is SEC ready. I've talked to his high school coach. He believes that as well. Brian Kelly said it on National Signing Day that this is a guy that can step in the mix quick. So for me to get 13 of your youngsters to campus is a big deal, headlined by the trio, really, of Harlem Berry, DJ Pickett, and Carius Curne.
How many? What's like the normal amount? Is there a normal amount, or is it? I know it obviously varies each year, but like, what
You're
would be
starting to see
considered
it
a
become
good?
more and more each year now, especially with the transfer portal. Sometimes your roster count is diminished, so you don't have as many people in spring ball just because the way the offseason works. So you start to see some of them kind of the number ramp up a little bit. Now it's at 13. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of true freshmen making their way early.
Yeah, you mentioned Curne, and then the guy rated a little bit high, depending on where you look, but guy rated a little bit higher, and they flipped him. Solomon Thomas he's coming in later than Curne.
Yeah, no, Solomon Thomas is going to be an early enrollee. That was the last one to kind of make that confirmation. He flipped on National Signing Day, and that's a big one for this program. I mean, he's a 5-star, number 2 interior offensive lineman in the country. He's one that had a lot of buzz leading up to the signing day period. So, look, I think that he's going to be an extremely talented player. I think Carius Curne's ceiling is just a little bit higher. He's a player that started playing football a couple years ago. He hasn't been playing his whole life, so he's still getting acclimated to it, and he's learning fast. I mean, this is a player who really has this LSU staff buzzing about what he can be.
Did you see the video of Solomon Thomas? It might have been like a Rivals video, but like how freaking massive he looked.
At the Under Armour All-American game last weekend?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of those guys could be one of your starting guards. I mean, you got the guy from Virginia Tech, Thompson. I don't know if he's going to play guard or tackle, and then maybe one of those freshmen. And then, I mean, you got Devin Harper too. You got a lot of talent. I'd say probably the biggest question marks are a tackle. Are they looking at anyone else in the portal right now?
Well, yeah, kind of like digging into that as well. Like you're 100% spot on. When you look at the tackle spot, really, you've Tyree Adams. That for me, I liked what he did in the bowl game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him be with that first team during spring camp. But from there, it really moves left to right. You got Tyree Adams, right? You could put DJ Chester at the guard spot for now on that left side. Braylon Moore will be your starting center week 1, pretty much penciled in. Josh Thompson, put him at your right guard spot, and then the right tackle spot's wide open. Wouldn't be surprised to see LSU attack another transfer portal offensive lineman, specifically at the tackle spot, just because you need some depth there. And I really think that if you can go get a savvy veteran to continue mixing and meshing with the youngsters, man, I think you're going to put yourself in a really good spot.
Are there any names to monitor right now?
There's not. I think you're going to see that next wave of portal entrants come in soon. Once the college football playoff wraps up, I think you'll start to see a couple more guys enter that LSU will be interested in. Right now, it's obviously all safety right now. I mean, they got their foot on the gas, but I think you're going to start to see that offensive line spot ramp up. And they're also hosting a tight end on Friday in Texas A&M's Donovan Green.
Yeah, let's dive into that. So, who are the players they've recently hosted? They've hosted a safety, tight end, and then someone else too, right?
Yeah, so this week's been a pretty busy week for the LSU staff. On Monday, Auburn defensive back Keionte Scott made his way to campus. He arrived on Monday and stayed until Wednesday morning. And that's just a guy who's utilizing that extra year of eligibility from that Diego Pavia case. He spent 2 years of JUCO ball and then 3 years at Auburn. He thought his career was done. And then fast forward to that Diego Pavia ruling where JUCO players get an extra year of eligibility. And now you can see Keionte Scott get an extra year. So that'll be a fun one to monitor. He's visited USC, Houston, now LSU. We'll see what happens next in his process, but he departed yesterday. And then fast forward to right now, man, you got Tamarcus Cooley on campus, and that's your gem. That's the one that you're really putting your foot on the gas for. He's the number 2 rated safety in the portal right now, number 1 available. And this is a guy that LSU's really ramping up their push for. He balled out of North Carolina State this year, has a lot of SEC interest, visited Ole Miss, then he's visiting LSU, and then he could potentially be checking out Missouri and Kentucky. So it's all SEC schools for him right now. He's an SEC talent. The visit appears to be going pretty well at this point in time, but we'll see what happens down the stretch. This is a guy who's going to be having a lot of suitors really pushing for him, including Ole Miss. I could see a battle between LSU and Ole Miss here, but this is a player that's very coveted in the portal after dominating in the ACC.
Going back to Scott, he played safety, but didn't he play like all over the place? Is he kind of like a Swiss Army?
Yeah, man, he's a Swiss Army knife. That's a guy who's played boundary corner. He's played safety. It'll be interesting to see where he plays at the next level, or I guess this next year, rather. He's a really good player. And the same can be said for Tamarcus Cooley, too, man. Like, he's played boundary corner. He's played nickel, safety. It's another Swiss Army knife, and it gives you the opportunity to plug people in and see what the best rotations are for you. LSU's recruiting Tamarcus Cooley as a safety, but I believe Ole Miss is recruiting him as a cornerback. So it'll be interesting to see where he wants to play in 2025. If he wants to play cornerback, you could very well see Ole Miss continue to swing for the fences. If he wants to play safety, LSU's got a starting spot sitting there waiting for him. So it'll be fun to monitor his process down the stretch.
Do you think Blake Baker is going to change up the defense a little bit next year? Maybe have like a little more nickels or I don't know, maybe safety rather than linebacker or something. I feel like there's got to be a little bit of a change.
I think you'll see that 4-2-5. They really want to utilize a star next season with Harold Perkins.
Harold Perkins, yeah.
I think that's going to be your best bet right there. But you have so many pieces that are like versatility is what they wanted, and versatility is what they got. I think you can see a bunch of different schemes. I really like the talent that they got, Mike. Like they got some good pieces coming in, and they got a nice mix of returning guys as well. I mean, I know Ashton Stamps is a player that a lot of people kind of bash, and I get it. I mean, he didn't have the best year in the world, but he's also a 2-year starter. So, I mean, him coming back, Whit Weeks coming back, Devon Keys coming back, your linebacker position, the second level looks really, really good. So I feel really pretty comfortable in a 4-2-5 if that's what they elect to do. Just knowing that Whit Weeks, West Weeks, Devon Keys, you bring in a bunch of true freshmen as well, you're in a good position at the linebacker room, and it gives you kind of a safety net back there.
Yeah, I mean, Stamps didn't have the best bowl game, but he's still not like a bad corner by any stretch of the means. So, like, even if he ended up being your third guy, whether it's Pickett or Jakeem Jackson or Mansoor Delane or, fill in the blank, if one of those guys takes a spot over Stamps, you just have more depth. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of figuring out with positions, but it will be interesting to see. You mentioned a tight end from A&M. What was his name? Green?
Yeah, so on Friday, tomorrow actually, Texas A&M transfer Donovan Green's going to make his way to town for a 2-day stay, and he's a player that's had a unique career to this point. He was one of the players in that fantastic Texas A&M 2022 class, and he was a freshman All-American. He dominated. Fast forward to 2023, tore his ACL, held him out for the year. 2024, he got buried on the depth chart. So it's a player who's looking for a fresh start. LSU kind of needs some players at the tight end position, in my opinion. I know you got Trey Bauer Sharp, and JD LaFleur coming in. That's a nice kind of three-headed monster that you got there. But Trey Green's going to be utilized as a receiver for the most part. So to get another big guy in the trenches in Donovan Green would be nice. And who knows, maybe he could return to his freshman form. But West Virginia, he's there right now on campus. Indiana's pushing for him too. So it's not like LSU's the only one in this ball game. There's going to be some people swinging for the fences.
What kind of tight end is he? Is he like a blocking tight end, a hybrid tight end, more of a
He's
pass
a big
catching?
boy, man. Like he's like 6'5", 250, 260. He can put his hand in the dirt and be really effective. If you need him to peel off and catch a pass, he can do that too, just based off of minimal film that I've watched. I mean, I can't sit here and say that I'm a guru on his game. I've just watched a little bit of what he does. But as a freshman, he was very impressive, and hopefully he can get back to that form if it's at LSU or anywhere else, because you're going to see some people trying to get him. He's an SEC transfer for crying out loud.
Yeah. Any other whispers of possible hosts, LSU hosting any other players?
For now, it's pretty mum. I think they're going to try to see what they can do with Tamarcus Cooley. They've already hosted 2 defensive backs like we just talked about. They'll bring in a tight end this weekend. So for now, it seems like those 3 are the ones that they've got on their radar. And like I said a minute ago, the next wave of portal entrants is going to be really fun just to see what's available and just see where LSU can go. I mean, they've already got 14 additions to this point. There's only so many roster spots available with a mix between returning pieces, the 2025 signing class, and then, of course, the 14 new transfers. So there's only so many roster spots available. We'll see where they go, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that number end at 17.
When's the next portal window open?
April. I wish I could tell you the exact date. I'm blanking. Maybe the 18th to the 25th. I'm not sure. But April, after spring ball.
One player I wanted to ask about, Jacoby Matthews. You know, obviously 5-star, goes to A&M for NIL. Now he transferred out. Didn't play last year. Is there any whispers with him right now? Like, what's going on with him? Do you know?
No, it doesn't seem like there's really any interest on LSU side of things for a guy like Jacoby Matthews. I think there were some whispers about grades that needed to get in check this year. So whether he's academically eligible for D1 football, we'll see. I don't know enough about the subject to really talk about it too much. I can just speak that it doesn't appear that there's much interest on LSU side of things. But Jacoby's a hell of a player, and wherever he lands, if he lands somewhere big, he's going to ball out. I know he went to A&M, and it was kind of a roller coaster ride, but he's a good player. Wherever he lands, he's going to ball.
I'm really surprised by that. I mean, he wanted to go to LSU, and then allegedly his parents made him go to A&M for money. So, and then now there was reported interest that he wanted to. That's really interesting, considering how I would say LSU's desperate for a safety, but it's definitely a need. So
They're
I'm really
desperate. They're
surprised.
desperate for a safety.
Yeah. So,
We can say that.
I'm really surprised by that. I'm really surprised there's really not reported interest. So there must be something in the road that's blocking that. But yeah, that's interesting to see. What's going on with LSU recruiting other than the transfer stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they knocked it out of the park in that 2025 class. I mean, they looked really good. The 2025 class is a top 10 in the country. You went out, you got DJ Pickett, Harlem Berry, 2 linebackers that I'm really high on is Charles Ross and Jaden Breaker. I can't wait to see what they do over the next couple of months. So intrigued to see what they do there, but they filled a lot of holes, went out and got 4 offensive linemen as well. So that 2025 class is nice with a lot of plug and play guys. And now transfer portal is just about wrapped up. Like I said, 14 guys. I wouldn't be surprised to see it get to 17. And then you start to look forward to the 2026 class. And man, you got so much talent in Louisiana. It's going to be a very fun next couple of months. So they've started out dishing new offers to players out of state and starting to kick the tires on a couple players. They offered an Arizona State commitment today at the quarterback position, and that's Jake Fett, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. So really good player, top 10 quarterback in the country, just kicking the tires there and expressing some interest. But there's a lot of quarterbacks that Joe Sloan's pursuing. They dished out an offer to the number 1 athlete in the country, Brandon Arrington, yesterday as well. Dude's got 38 Division I offers. A&M, USC, et cetera, are really pushing for him. So when it comes down to it on the recruiting front right now, The dead period's lifted. Coaches can go meet up with players now in person as opposed to phone calls and whatnot. So face-to-face contact is now allowed. And then you start to dish out some offers and see what type of interest you can get before you start to host some guys during spring ball.
One player they did get, JaReylan McCoy, 6'7", big dude, defensive end. Glad to see that. What do you know about him?
Yeah, man, JaReylan McCoy, that's a big boy. I mean, he's 6'5", or I'm sorry, like 6'7", like 260. I mean, this is an absolute unit of a player. He's a nice defensive lineman. Gives you another piece in the trenches. So I'm really excited to see how he develops. Battled an injury during his junior year, I believe, and now he got to participate in the Under Armour All-American game, go up against a bunch of good players, and LSU kept recruiting him. Obviously, it was LSU, USC, and Tennessee really pushing for him. LSU won out, and now you have a nice 1-2 punch in the trenches in that 2026 class with Richard Anderson joining him. So really nice class that they got so far. I think it's up to 6 commitments, top 5 class in the country, number 2 in the SEC. Started to do some work there, and these next couple of months are critical.
Do you ever get skeptical when kids commit this early out? I'm at that point. Like, just
absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, man. When I post that a recruit commits or whatnot, every time somebody's underneath it saying, "Talk to me on National Signing Day." Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
dude,
for
I
sure.
get it. Like, I'm just doing my job, but I mean, you're gonna have people in my mentions, in my anybody, not just me. This goes for anybody covering LSU. I mean, people are gonna get kind of skeptical, like you said, and say, "Talk to me on National Signing Day." Completely agree. We're in a new age where money talks, and that's just the name of the game right now. So yeah, I mean, you commit early, and it's gonna be you're holding on for dear life down the stretch. And it starts with other guys like JaReylan McCoy, who's going to continue to emerge. Richard Anderson is one. Oh, my goodness. That kid looked so good during the state championship for Edna Carr. Richard Anderson is blossoming. He will be a 5-star. This kid looks so good. He committed to LSU early, right before or during his junior year. A huge get for LSU, but one that they're going to be holding on down the stretch because he's going to continue blossoming, and the defensive tackle position is a coveted spot right now in college football.
Wasn't he a 3-star and then, or no?
Man, he might have been I think he was a 4-star when he committed. I think he was a 4-star when he committed. But it was so early in the process, it's hard to evaluate young players like that. And now after a junior campaign where he just balled, I mean, he was the best player in 5A. I mean, he looked fantastic. So we'll see where he goes from here. But LSU's going to be holding on. They got to probably get the checkbook ready for a player like him because he's going to start to have some heavy hitters.
Well, then you have all these recruiting services. Rivals might have him as 5-star. ESPN might have him as a 3, and 247's got him a 4, and On3's got him as a 4. Like, you know, there's always ways to manipulate this stuff. So I think 247, I think I saw he was a 3. It doesn't really matter, but I mean,
whichever one fits the agenda, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Whichever one's higher, like whichever one's going to fit the agenda is the one that we got to use, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, obviously you want to retain. They need defensive tackles. That's no doubt about it. It seems like that's also a need for LSU. So, I guess sticking on defensive tackles, there's no one in the portal they'd be looking at for defensive tackle, huh?
It's a really good question. Like, I'm glad you brought that up just because a lot of people, when they talk about the needs for this program, they all talk about safety, 100% understood. Offensive line, 100% understood. Tight end, I get it. I'm on that bandwagon too. But defensive tackle isn't talked about enough for me. You have Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Bro coming back. 2 critical pieces, 2 critical youngsters. You bring
But they're kind of out
Mitchell.
of position, though, like a little bit.
You bring in Sadir Mitchell, who's a transfer, and then after that, I mean, Sean Washington's a good player, but he hasn't proven much. You bring back Jacoby and Guillory off of a torn Achilles. He hasn't really, like, the likelihood that he is 100% for the regular season will be interesting to see see where he's at percentage-wise. You don't have that many veterans up front. So for me, I'd like to see them go get another defensive tackle personally. Will they? Who knows? But I'd love to see them go get a proven veteran in the trenches just to be ready on day one and help out.
Unless they think one of the freshmen can come in and do their thing.
Zion Williams. I mean, Zion Williams is an absolute dude. This is a guy from Texas who balled out, continued cruising up the rankings. If there's another immediate impact guy on defense other than, let's say, DJ Pickett, I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Zion Williams really, really flourish.
Yeah, I think if LSU can get 3 or 4 guys from their freshman class to contribute, I think that'd be a big win. Not just defensive tackle. I'm just talking about as a whole. I think the defense, you'll see a big step taken forward. So, all right, well, that does it about LSU. Who you got in the CFP?
Man, tonight's game is going to be fun. And again, recording this on Thursday, so we got some Penn State Notre Dame action. It's going to be a toss-up. I mean, both these teams are so good defensively. I have Penn State personally. I think Marcus Freeman's a really good coach. I love what they're doing defensively at Notre Dame right now. They look really, really good. But, I mean, they won that game the last week with Riley Leonard throwing 90 yards. I mean, I just can't assume that they're going to get that lucky against a team like Penn State that's clicking. I think Drew Aller's the better quarterback, sue me. I don't think he's great, but I think he's the better quarterback in this one. So I'm going to lean Penn State in this one. It's a toss-up. It's two really talented defensive teams.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas has it as basically a pick 'em. I think Notre Dame's favored by 1. Did you see the report? There's a flu breakout in Notre Dame.
I did see that. We'll see. That's an intriguing report.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I had the flu like 2 weeks ago. If those players are battling whenever I battled, holy shit, good luck to them. But yeah, that'll be interesting. So who you got in the championship then?
Look, I think Ohio State is the hottest team in the country. I think anybody that's watched them play could say that. Depends which version you get of Quinn Ewers on Friday, Saturday, whenever they play. I think Ohio State wins that game, and then I think they do it. I mean, they're so hot right now. I think Howard's a good game manager. Jeremiah Smith's a freak. Their receiving core is freakish. Their defense looks great. I mean, they're clicking in every single way. Can Ryan Day get over the hump and win a natty? We'll see. But I think when a team's hot, I know it's not baseball. It's not one of these things when a team's hot, they're hot. But what they're doing is very, very impressive. And I'd have to lean Ohio State right now if I had to pick a team today.
Ohio State and who'd you say before?
Penn State.
Penn State. That's what I said. Corey asked me. I was like, "Oh, I'm going Texas, Notre Dame." And I was like, "No, I don't think Texas is that good, but obviously they're a good team. But I don't think there's national championship team. But yeah, Quinn Ewers, big question mark. Yeah. Last question I got for you is the SEC dead?
So did you see what Urban Meyer said?
No. What do you say?
Urban Meyer came out last weekend and was just saying like the SEC like era of dominance is done and all this and all that. I'm like, it's been what, 2 down years? I mean, come on. Like, I don't think the SEC's dead. I think this new era of college football is certainly going to make SEC programs wake up because some other teams can shell out the dollars, whether it's Oregon, Ohio State, et cetera. I mean, you're going to have to wake up a little bit more for the SEC. You can't just rely on your resume. You're going to have to continue winning recruiting battles by relationships, but also piecing together impressive NIL packages. I don't think the SEC's dead. I think you got some really good teams. Everybody wants to go to the SEC for a reason. So we'll see what ultimately transpires. But yeah, I mean, other teams are catching up. And I think that's what you want to see in college football right now in an era that's just has so much uncertainty.
Oh yeah. I mean, anytime like the SEC is not, I mean, shit, you got Texas could be in the national championship, but like just people, anytime there's a down year, you just have all these stupid like Big Ten pundits like, oh, the SEC's dead, all this nonsense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely not dead. I think they kind of cannibalize each other throughout the year for sure. I think that's kind of a thing that isn't talked about. But yeah, I mean, it is right. Like you are right. Like the transfer portal, NIL, everything else in between, it kind of does level things out. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're dead, but they're definitely dinged. Well, I will say that. But
Agreed.
yeah, anything else you want to touch on?
No, man. I mean, football's buzzing right now. Obviously, we got a huge weekend coming up. College football playoffs, wildcard Saturday too. I mean, you got a bunch of different games coming up. It's a good time to be a football fan. Really good time.
Super Bowl prediction?
Too early, man. I too early for me to even pick a team right now.
Come on.
Dude, who do you have?
I think this is the year of Josh Allen. I think Bills.
You think so? You think he gets over the hump?
Yeah, I don't. Kansas City. I mean, it's so hard to say Kansas City frauds, but like, holy shit, like,
just escaping every single damn week. It's insane.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, they really haven't dominated anyone. I don't know. I think Josh Allen's going to get one. I think this would be the year. So I'd say Bills, and then the NFC is a complete toss up. I think the Lions are going to choke. Who are they, like Vikings? Who's the other like really good team in the NFC?
That's my thing. Like when I'm looking at the NFC, really the Lions are the only team that sticks out to me, and then of course Bills, Chiefs, and like you said, I mean, if there's a year that Allen's going to get over the hump, this is the year. Kind of not a banged up Kansas City team, but just not as elite as they've been in the past. I can ride with that bandwagon with you. I could get behind. Probably say a Bills Super Bowl.
Bills, yeah. All right, I'll roll Bills Super Bowl, and then the NFC is a complete toss up. There was a thing on Twitter. It's like, oh, a leaked script of the NFL and had the Eagles. I'm like,
Nah, I can't get behind that.
no, but it did have Bills. I would say Bills. Oh my god, who's the other team I'm missing in the NFC? There's got to be somebody I'm not thinking of. Saints?
It's not the Vikings. It's the Vikings.
Might be Vikings. Dude, Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
Can't get over it. Washington, Green Bay, wow. Rams. Wow, there's no one in the NFC that just jumps at me.
No, not at all. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd either say Vikings, Lions. I don't trust the Packers. I don't trust the Eagles. Not the Commanders. Not Bucks. I'd probably say Vikings or Lions. One of the two.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go Detroit. I mean, I was kind of thinking there was a team that I wasn't thinking of, but yeah, the NFC is a crapshoot. You really don't know. I could see the Rams making weird noise too.
I mean, McVay's a beast. That wouldn't catch me off guard at all.
Yeah, no, I think so. But yeah, well, that's all I got. Yeah, you good on your side?
Yeah, dude, I'm good. We knocked it out of the park. Just a bunch of portal buzz, football news. LSU's cooking. LSU women's basketball is about to play in the next hour. So, we got some stuff to talk about in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you can like and subscribe, yeah, really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.